Batman doesn't kill criminals. He leaves them to die. One night at the GCPD, Commissioner Gordon has a private meeting with members of the CIA and the FBI. An agent of the KGB, a Russian security agency, has gathered them to warn them about the presence of a renegade Russian agent known as the Beast. The American security agencies call him the KG Beast, although his real name is Anatoly Kniazev. The Beast belonged to a Russian organization part of the KGB called the Hammer. He was trained to become an expert martial artist, master of all deadly weapons, and his strength was cybernetically enhanced. All these in order to transform him into a super assassin. Now, the Beast has arrived to Gotham City in order to stop a security program developed by the US government. The CIA and the FBI have tried to stop the Beast, but so far 8 agents have been killed by the assassin. That's why they've decided to get the GCPD involved in the search of the Beast. Commissioner Gordon suggests to get Batman involved in the case, but the FBI agents will have none of that. What they don't know is that Batman and Robin have been listening to the whole conversation from outside. After learning the KG Beast's plan, Batman goes to meet with the head officer who is in charge of the security program that the Beast wants to stop. Batman leaves Robin behind as he goes to meet with the officer, but when he arrives he realizes that the Beast has arrived first, and he throws the security officer from the rooftop of a building. Batman dives towards the man and maneuvers in mid-air to save his life. As they fall to the street, Batman barely manages to slow down their fall as to crash on top of a vehicle with the least amount of speed. Batman ends up slightly injured, but he protected the security officer from all damage. Unfortunately, Batman realizes that the Beast had already killed the officer before throwing his body. After the crime, Batman investigates the victim and deduces that the Beast's mission is to kill all members of the security program. The list includes 10 people, 4 of whom are already dead. Batman shares this information with Gordon, and in turn, the Commissioner informs Batman that the Beast is working with an Iranian terrorist. Because of the danger of the situation, the authorities try to keep the victims under protective custody, but despite all these, the Beast manages to kill his 5th victim. The next victim on the list is attending an important luncheon in a Gotham hotel. The police and Batman are at the place, keeping an eye on anything strange. However, when the ceremony starts and people start eating their meals, they all suddenly start to die, including the Beast's next victim. Gordon realizes that the food has been poisoned and he goes to the kitchen to find the responsible. However, the criminal has escaped through the back door, but Batman confronts him and realizes he is the Beast's associate. The terrorist distracts Batman long enough for the Beast to show up in a van and attack Batman with an automatic gun. The Beast and the terrorist then drive the van away, but Batman drops on top of the vehicle. The criminals then drive the van towards the school bus before they drop out of the car, leaving Batman to deal with the crisis while they escape. After that, the KG Beast has already killed 80 people in Gotham. Batman has had enough, and he prepares a plan to lure the Beast into a trap. The next victim on the list is a US senator, and Batman creates a dummy of the senator, which is then placed inside the man's hotel room. As expected, the Beast attacks and destroys the hotel room, but there were no casualties this time. Batman takes the Beast by surprise and attacks him from behind. However, the Beast's fighting abilities are better and he takes down Batman quickly. The Beast starts running, but Batman follows him closely. The chase continues through several rooftops across many blocks. The Beast manages to keep Batman at a safe distance, and thanks to his athletic skills, the KG Beast actually manages to outclass the Dark Knight, and once again, he escapes. Later, Batman and Commissioner Gordon talk to Agent Ralph Bundy from the CIA, and they discuss how to protect the next victim. But despite their security measures, the Beast manages to kill his next target. The next time, all the authorities try to protect the US senator, and they start by taking him out of his hotel. Batman wants to take the man to safety through the staircase, but the FBI agents insist that he should go in the elevator. Batman is forced to go along with them, but in the middle of the ride the elevator breaks down and Batman knows they have fallen into a trap. Batman breaks through the ceiling of the elevator, but when he is outside, a cinder block falls from high up at great speed, penetrating the elevator and killing one of the agents. The Beast is throwing the cement blocks at them, trying to kill his next target, and Batman starts climbing the elevator cable towards the assassin. When the Beast notices Batman, he shoots at him, injuring his shoulder, but he has to stop when many police officers show up to confront him. The Beast then brutally kills all of them using an axe, and then he runs to the rooftop of the building, where he crosses across to another with help from a connecting rope. Batman follows the Beast until he has to cross using the rope and realizes that the Beast is trying to cut the rope. Batman breaks the cord first and uses it to tie the assassin's left hand, trapping him until the criminal is captured. Batman believes it's all over, but he underestimates the Beast, who chops off his hand with the axe to escape one more time. Batman fails once again, and he is now concerned for the security of the last victim on the Beast's list, the US President, Ronald Reagan. Meanwhile, the Beast needs a new hand and he hires a manufacturer of illegal weapons. 2 days later, the man is found killed and Batman deduces that the Beast is responsible. When the President arrives to the Gotham airport, Batman kidnaps him, or rather escorts him to his hotel, where they explain him the dangers of the situation. Batman shares his plan to keep the President safe during his public appearances, but the Beast soon learns of his plan thanks to a spy infiltrated among the FBI agents. Fortunately, Batman knew about this, and once the FBI have left the President's chamber, he explains the real plan to keep the President safe. After all the arrangements are in place, Agent Bundy from the CIA tells Batman that even if they capture the Beast, he will not go to prison because he has diplomatic immunity from the Russian embassy. In the end, justice will not be done. When the time comes, President Reagan is taken to the rooftop of the hotel, where an helicopter awaits for him. At that moment, the terrorist associate of the Beast glides towards the President, carrying a bomb with him, but before he could reach his target, Robin shows up and stops him, sending the terrorist downwards to the street, where he explodes in mid-air. The FBI agents are concerned about the President's safety, but much to their surprise, the man is actually Commissioner Gordon disguised as the President. The decoy worked well, but Batman knows the Beast is still a dangerous threat. He goes along the President and one of the FBI agents, who Batman knows is the traitor. They take the President to his next public appearance, but as they enter through the backstage door, they are cornered by the traitor and the Beast, who comes out of a sewer entrance. Batman is shot from behind, but before the criminals could attack the President, Agent Bundy and many members of the CIA show up in time to stop the criminals. The FBI spy is killed there, but the Beast crawls back to the sewers. Thanks to the bulletproof vest, Batman survived the attack, but his shoulder was injured once again. Despite this, he goes after the Beast, all by himself. Down in the sewers, Batman has to fight the Beast once again, and this time, there is also the additional threat of the Beast's new machine gun attached to his arm. The confrontation soon turns into a bloody fight, in which both enemies give their best, but they can't defeat each other. Batman is cut, slashed and bruised, but the Beast gets some of it as well. After long minutes of fighting, the Beast uses some gas to escape and he runs away from Batman. The Dark Knight follows the Beast until he enters a room, from which there is no way out except through the entrance door. The Beast realizes he's trapped himself and challenges Batman to one last fight, but Batman refuses. Instead, the Dark Knight chooses to close the door and lock the Beast inside, all in the name of justice. When Batman returns to the surface, he tells everyone that the Beast is no longer anyone's concern. The US President is safe, and all thanks to Batman and the impersonator of President Reagan, who vanished after the situation was under control. With the threat of the Beast eliminated, Batman returns home with Alfred, who is still disguised as the President, much to Batman's disdain. 10 Nights of the Beast, the first 4-issue storyline by Jim Starlin and Jim Aparo. It is one of the best Batman stories, and it is also a bit controversial, especially because of the ending. In general, it's a very good story, but it's not absolutely perfect. So now let's analyze what makes this story good and what makes it not so much. The plot of the story is quite good. This is a thriller in which Batman has to stop a killer from achieving his ultimate goal. The action is impeccable and the execution is phenomenal. The downside is that it can be seen as outdated. The plot develops around the idea of the Cold War, and there are way too many political and social references to the 80s. From the secret agencies to the existence of the Soviet Union, this story can get a bit confusing if you don't have the proper historical context. This is what prevents this story from becoming a timeless masterpiece. The more time passes, the least relevant this story becomes. The art of Jim Aparo is fantastic as usual, and just as good are the covers for this storyline done by Mike Zeck. Now let's talk about the characters in this story. And we are not gonna mention all the secret agents, as they were shown as the typical FBI and CIA agents from every other story. Nothing remarkable there except for Agent Bundy, who was created by Starling to become the new ally of Batman. We all know that just didn't work out. In this story, Commissioner Gordon is pretty much the same as always. He trusts in Batman and even cooperates to save the president by impersonating him. A bit unusual for Gordon, but not completely out of character. Batman, on the other hand, is quite interesting. This story shows us the detective side of Batman and a bit of the vigilante behind the mask. There is no Bruce Wayne in this story simply because there is no time for that. Batman has to use all his detective abilities to try to stop the enemy, and even though he fails to save most of the victims, in the end he manages to save the most important one with a great master plan, assisted of course by Alfred and Robin. And speaking of them, Alfred impersonating the president was a nice and funny touch, even though in this continuity Alfred didn't have an acting background. Yet. As for Robin, well, I have already said that Jim Starlin didn't like Jason, and this story just confirms that. Even though Robin is present for almost all of the story, he is just there to be at Batman's side when nothing relevant happens. Every time Batman has to confront the enemies or do something important, Robin is nowhere. He completely vanishes. We can assume that Batman was protecting Robin from the super assassin, but if that's the case, then what's the point of having a crime-fighting partner? The only time Robin actually does something is when he takes out the Beast's sidekick, which happens very briefly at the end of the story. So yeah, once again Robin is misused by Jim Starlin, who didn't care about Jason. Now, the most important character of this story is the new enemy created by Starling. The KG Beast was introduced as the ultimate enemy that could defeat Batman. Of course, this is not the first time they have tried to introduce such a villain. Bob Kane, Bill Finger and Jerry Robinson did it in the Golden Age when they created the Joker. Julius Schwartz and Gardner Fox did it in the Silver Age when they created the Outsider. Dennis O'Neil, Neil Adams and Schwartz did it again in the Bronze Age when they created Ra's al Ghul. And now in the late 80s, Jim Starlin and Jim Aparo created the KG Beast. This man was meant to be superior than Batman and almost invincible. His martial arts training was greater, his acrobatic skills were better, and his strength was technologically enhanced. He was just the perfect killing machine. But even with all that, there was just one thing that the Beast couldn't do better than Batman, and that was thinking. I'm not sure if Starling did this on purpose, but the name Beast probably has more meanings than one. The super assassin was trained to kill people by any means, but he was not prepared to think and use his brains. As it often happens with big, buff dudes with lots of muscles, the Beast is really dumb. The most notable example is his own mutilation. So here's what happens. Batman ties the Beast's left hand with a rope, and the Beast has an axe in his right hand. So his brain does 2 + 2 and he cuts his own hand instead of cutting the rope. You gotta be kidding me. The super assassin, the perfect killing machine, cuts his own hand instead of cutting the rope. This was an issue that many fans had back then, and when they pointed it out on the letter pages, the editorial response was that the Beast didn't have enough time to cut the rope. Now that's the worst excuse they can come up with. They want us to believe that cutting a hand is faster than cutting a freaking rope. I would like to believe that it was all intentional, because if not, then that means the Beast was not the only fool involved in this story. And yet another example is the final fight, where the Beast literally locks himself in a dead end. How dense one has to be to enter a place with a door while you are being chased. There's a 50-50 chance there is no way out of a place that has a door, but the Beast goes inside full speed ahead and dooms himself. So yeah, the Beast was a great threat, until his genius started to show. And finally, it's time to tackle the most important and serious issue of the story. Batman decides to leave the Beast to die. I've seen this moment brought up on those 10 times Batman has killed videos, and it's all clickbait BS, because they don't give us the proper context. So here's what happens. Batman and the Beast are two formidable opponents, and they fight until they can't fight anymore. The Beast runs, traps himself, and chooses to challenge Batman one last time. The Beast knows he is capable of fighting Batman and most likely defeat him. Batman knows this as well, and that's why he chooses to lock the Beast inside. So far, it's all good. That was the most rational and logical decision. This Batman is not Frank Miller's Batman, who needs to risk his life fighting with a powerful mutant just to feel alive and prove a point, while almost getting himself killed. This Batman is rational and smart. He knows the odds and he takes the best approach. Now the bad thing happens when he leaves the Beast to die. That action goes against everything that Batman stands for. It's very similar to the ending of the movie Batman Begins, where Batman leaves Rage to die in the train. It's the same situation, but in this story, when he decides to leave the Beast, he starts an internal monologue about justice. So in his mind, Batman did what he believed was justice. And it all comes back to the fact that even if the Beast was captured, he wouldn't be punished because of his diplomatic immunity. And that's how Starling tried to justify this decision. But I think it just doesn't work. Sure, we understand the reason why Batman let him die, but that doesn't justify his actions. It's kind of a gray area, but in general, I think Starling got confused and mixed up justice with vengeance. No matter how much pressure Batman is feeling, he would not let a man die as punishment for his crimes. That's just terrible characterization from Starling. So much so that this was considered a mistake and was fixed in later storylines like Batman Year 3. If we were to imagine that these events happened in real life, there would be no immunity that could save such a criminal. I mean, a foreign assassin kills at least 100 people in an American city and attempts to kill the US president. Can you imagine? That would be enough to start another world war. But since this is not real life, we have to buy the story of the immunity, which, by the way, is also used by Starling for the Clown Prince of Crime in that other story. It almost seems as if Starling didn't really have fresh ideas all the time. So yeah, Batman killed the KG Beast, but not really. Let's just say he was having a bad day. Anyway, the highlight from this story has to be the final fight between Batman and the Beast, which happens in the sewers of Gotham City. And that's a nice coincidence, because the next story also happens in that same place, when Batman has to confront the Ratcatcher. So if you don't want to miss that and many more Batman videos, subscribe now, leave a like if you enjoyed this episode and come back for the next video. Until then, Godspeed my friends.